It is November 13th, 2025, and the US appears to want to have its cake and eat it too, as it went from establishing the National Anti Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, or NABU, to now using it against Zelensky, as the Bureau has come out with this massive investigative report calling out some of the people within Zelensky's own inner circle, even his former business partner who has now disappeared. But just how common is this corruption? How much money are we really talking here? And how far does this scandal actually go? Well, we got into all of the latest with a special guest earlier. So let's take a listen to that conversation now. Joining me now to discuss is former Ukrainian diplomat and whistleblower Andrii Telizhenko. Andrei, thanks so much for taking the time to join me.
Thank you, Rachel. Always to be glad on the show.
Yeah, it's great to have you back on. Now, I want to get your take on the latest here, and I know that you have experienced and dealt with corruption in Kiev firsthand, and so you may be able to speak to this. But we have the news that at least 7 people are facing charges in a corruption scandal that involves the smuggling of over $100 million from contractors building defenses to protect Ukraine's nuclear energy facilities from Russian air attacks. So far, when it comes to the fallout, Kiev's energy and justice ministers have resigned, and Zelensky's former business partner, the co owner of the TV production company that helped turn him into a celebrity, is now nowhere to be found. Can you start by kind of taking me through your reaction to the news of the scandal?
This is everybody knows and knew that this is happening. And we've been talking about when on this show and everywhere else on there. People with common sense were talking about what is happening in Ukraine. We were talking about this for years now. This is happening during this war. That there's tons of corruption, tons of money laundering, especially U.S. taxpayers' dollars, which were flowing into Kiev cash. Basically, were money laundered out of Ukraine and used as bribes throughout the so-called elites of the Kiev regime. So for me, this is like nothing new. It's just that good that it's coming out. Thank God that people are trying to understand that this is happening. But we have to understand why it's happening. It's not a fight for against corruption. It's a fight for power right now in Ukraine. So this is what my understanding. This is what it is all about. That's what is happening at this moment right now when Zelensky is most vulnerable, because it's not about just the elites and the surrounding of Zelensky, like Mindich, who fled Ukraine, who was the cashier, basically the money bag for Zelensky personally, and he's now, some say he's in Israel. He's an Israeli citizen, so that's where he is right now, hiding out. And the Zuckerman brothers, who are also involved in this and also within the criminal case. There's the former Minister Chernyshov, there's Minister of Energy, Minister of Justice. So everybody is involved. It's not just some low-level or mid-level government official who was caught in a bribe, which is done every day in Ukraine. And there's not just $100 million involved in this. I can tell you there's more. Mindich holds the cash for Zelensky in Bitcoin. He has a flash drive of over $2 billion worth of Zelensky's cash, which he basically ran away with the support of Zelensky, for sure. Because Zelensky today put on sanctions on him, Ukrainian sanctions, but everybody knows Ukrainian sanctions don't do anything for you. Like, you're just going to lose a bank account in Kiev and that's it. It's not like U.S. sanctions or European sanctions or UN sanctions. So this is doesn't it gives you the way out. It shows Zelensky's trying to show to the public that he's trying to do something, but he's not. It's his own people. It's Zelensky personally involved in this. It's Zelensky to blame for this because he was coordinating all this. He knew about all this. It's his money, and this is what we have to focus on. Not just these people who were involved, but Zelensky himself. Because Mindich, the owner of Firepoint, the former PR firm for the production of Quartal 95 for Zelensky's TV series, is now basically producing drones, which are worth two times more than the average price on the market. The average price of a drone on the market is $15,000-$20,000. The ones they use on the front lines, they were selling them for $55,000 and up, and they were not the best quality and of the drones. So they were basically making money on that. And then they were producing all these missiles, Flamingo, is a total scam. They don't work. They don't exist. Eventually, they're just money laundered money for that. Then they money laundered for the energy sector in Ukraine to produce security for nuclear stations and energy stations within Ukraine, which also is not there. We know that's scanned for years happening, with starting from Westinghouse, which was involved in Ukraine building stuff within the nuclear energy sector of Ukraine within the last 15, 20 years, and billions of dollars, like $5, $6 billion worth of equipment, which is useless. It was just money laundering. That's what Ukraine was all about. It was a money laundering bag, not just for the Zelensky regime and the former Poroshenko regime, but overall Ukraine was used to money launder for the elites outside, for the deep state in Washington, for the West and Europe. And that's what we're seeing here is a fight for power. The elites in the West are trying to destroy Zelensky, move him aside, and change power in Ukraine. But there's, as I said, it's not just $100 billion. It's more. It's $2 billion just in Mindich's pocket in a flash drive. There's a couple of other $1 billion within the Zuckerberg brothers. There's the Shafir brothers who also fled Ukraine. And most of these elites are not in Kiev anymore. They fled. They're fleeing Ukraine. They're leaving Kiev. So this is the fall and the beginning of the end of the Zelensky regime, what I can call.
Wow, that is a pretty big statement. And I know that a lot of people are looking at this and really wondering, okay, is this the corruption scandal that could bring Zelensky down? And as you're pointing out there, right, this is nothing new. But what stood out to me was the fact that it's the National Anti-Corruption Bureau of Ukraine, which, as I understand it, was the US helped create in the first place to kind of cover up some of this corruption. And now all of a sudden they're turning on Zelensky and getting into his inner circle and really making things difficult for him at a time when he's desperately trying to fundraise from the EU. So when it comes to the possibility of trying to get Zelensky out of office, I know that there is pressure for possible new elections. How do you see that? Do you see that pressure coming in particular from the West? Are they ready for a new puppet?
I think it's just going to be a coup in Ukraine. There's not going to be elections. It's not talking about elections right now. This is talking about a shift, a change of power. The last door for Zelensky to leave, uh, peaceful, like alive. If he would leave right now, that would be this his end game, staying alive. Otherwise, I think he won't come out of Ukraine alive if he continues to stay in power. And Naboo, yeah, you mentioned that it was the one that's actually doing this case right now, the Anti-Corruption Bureau. We have to understand what is the Naboo. Naboo was formed not just to help by the U.S. government; it was formed and pressured onto the Ukrainian government. I remember sitting there in 2014 in April as advisors to the first deputy prime minister on security issues and law enforcement when George Kent, the deputy ambassador to the U.S. In Kiev, was pressuring Ukraine to start forming this anti-corruption bureau, or we won't get any loans and loan guarantees. And they formed it, they controlled it, and the National Anti-Corruption Bureau basically responds directly to the West, to Washington, to the FBI, to the Department of Justice. I was in meetings in the White House where the head of the Anti-Corruption Bureau basically was laying things out and giving out classified information to the National Security Council of the Obama Biden White House in 2016 and get involved in the U.S. elections against the presidential candidate Donald Trump at the time. So it's all these people were always working for the United States deep state government. So this is what it's all about. So they are the deep state is now done with Zelensky. There's too much negativity within Ukraine against him. Within the society, people hate Zelensky. The military hates Zelensky. The military is ready to just blow up and go against him because everything's falling apart on the front lines. Ukraine is definitely losing. Like even the propaganda cannot even hide what the key regime is, what's happening in the front line. It's done. It's finished. It was done from day one. Everybody understood, but now it's like over 2 million people dead and wounded from the Ukrainian side, and Pokrovsk is falling, everything's falling apart. Zaporizhia, the Gudai part is just basically surrounded with more than 30,000 Ukrainian soldiers, uh, have no way out. This everybody understands it's done. So now they need to change a puppet to continue this war, to try to push and the new administration in Washington to get good with the new so-called leader who they appoint or put into Ukrainian government. It can be one of their other puppets, Poroshenko, Klitschko, Zaluzhny, any one of them who can come in right now into the show. Or even Arestovich, who's I believe is also a puppet controlled by the oligarchs within the close to the Zelensky circle. So this is they're trying to just remove this guy the bad guy who doesn't have any support right now within the Ukrainian society and also within the West. He's not liked by the new administration in DC. Everybody understands that. Europe is fed up with him. They cannot basically tell their people why they're giving money to this loser. So now they need to change a new puppet, new face, show all this, put some dirt into people's eyes, like dust in people's eyes, and say, wait, we have a new guy here. This is going to take control of it. He's going to try to make it, maybe negotiate, but he won't. He will continue this war and continue the money laundering process for the elites in the West. So that's what is being done right now. Elections, nobody's talking about elections right now. Right now, it's just a coup to shift powers in Ukraine to try to put their own guy in to continue this war. That's what I see it. I don't know how it's going to happen, but I was talking about this for more than 7 months, and with you and other shows that Zelensky's days are numbered. By the end of this year, he might go down. And this is what is happening right now. There's a RICO case open in the United States against Zelensky and his surrounding. The FBI is working on that case for the misuse of U.S. taxpayers' dollars and money laundering, because what they were doing, they were sending all this money through United Arab Emirates, Saudi Arabia, basically that part of the world, and then sending it to Europe and to the elites in Washington and France and London, and basically filling up their own pockets, which Zelensky was promised to by the West to become a billionaire. That's what they gave him. He's a much more richer than Trump right now, but on blood money. And basically, then enriching him themselves, like Lindsey Graham and the neocons in DC. Basically, that money is going back to them into their pockets, into their basically bank accounts or other offshore accounts which they use. So this is it's going back and forth, and that's why they need to continue this and they need to change this rotten tomato into something new that they can show to the world that we should continue to support Ukraine more because we have a new guy in power. But it's going to be still the same war.
Yeah, good to remember on that one because I know that anytime they pull any kind of coup, they act like, "Oh yeah, we're turning over a new leaf." And it's like, yeah, it's the same story, the same game. And as you were describing it there, I'm thinking it's such a reminder that this is all a show, right? None of this has anything to do with the balance of power on the battlefield, the war of attrition that Russia has been waging for the last 3.5 years, targeting Kiev's forces. And as we're really starting to see some movement, as you're starting to see Kiev's defensive lines crumble, as you're watching Russia move in on Pokrovsk and Kupiansk and make significant advances, how do you view kind of the state of the Kiev regime? Sure, they can throw another puppet into the presidential palace, but that doesn't change the situation on the battlefield. And there seems to be nothing that anyone within NATO has come up with that would do anything to sort of extend Kiev's life when it comes to this war against Russia.
If it was a normal common sense situation, and people did want peace in Ukraine, this war had never started. I don't want to go that path, but we know the Minsk Accords, everything could have happened differently. Ukraine could have gotten peace or not bombarded Donbass from the beginning by the orders of Director Sayed Brennan in April of 2014. When basically the destruction of its own citizens by the Kiev regime after the coup happened. And it could have ended there, but no, it continued. So the change, the change is not going to do anything, but it needs to calm down the situation also on the front lines because I've been talking to a lot of military which are fighting in the hot spots. The average lifespan of a soldier, Ukrainian soldier, in the front line is 4 hours. 4 hours. That's it. They come out, they're done because they have no experience, they have no support, they have no weapons, they have nothing. The money that was being given to Ukraine, the $400 billion overall altogether in the last 3.5 years, half of it or more than half of it was stolen. And stolen not just by the Zelensky regime, it was filtered through the Zelensky regime by the elites in the West. So it came back there. That's where I think the FBI and the intel forces should look into that situation. But that's separate. Here we understand the situation is just crumbling. They need to show and calm down the people, calm down the army, because the army is very tense. People are ready to go in Kiev. People are running away. More than 400,000 soldiers altogether ran away from the front lines. The soldiers, I'm talking with military equipment, with machine guns, with grenades, and some of them are running away with military machinery, tanks, and heavy machinery that can be used to basically wage a coup against Kiev, and that's going to fall apart. And so right now, what the West is trying to do is calm the situation down and do a PR move and say, oh, we have a new guy in town, this guy who's going to be basically supported by the people like Zelensky or Grynchuk or somebody who they choose who's basically their own. Klitschko is a German citizen, Zelensky is in London basically obeying the MI6 orders. Poroshenko is a Newland puppet. So everything's happening in a way that these people are going to still control the situation. But the people don't know that. Most of the people don't understand that on the ground. So they're going to believe that something new is going to happen. Maybe this guy's going to come out and say, we're going to try to do peace talks, we're going to try to regroup, and they're going to believe him again. And this is going to get some time for the so-called elites outside of Ukraine to reshuffle their plan against Russia and to try to move on again and try to get more money involved because they need to show somehow to their citizens in Europe, Europe is falling apart economically, why they need to support this Kiev regime more, which is losing. They're going to say, oh, we have a new guy in town also. Let's support him. He's trying to do his best. Maybe this is going to work out. This guy's more professional. Something. They're going to use the press and go any nonsense they need with using the left-wing media and the big media sources. So this is what they're going to try to do. That's what I believe. But because the situation is so tense, and the soldiers talking to them, they're ready to go on Kiev. Some of them are ready to just live in the country. They don't care which flag is going to fly over the territory of Ukraine, even if it's going to be a Russian flag. These are talking soldiers from the battlefield. They say, we don't care which flag flies over our country, over our land. The main thing, we want a peaceful life. We want to have families. We want to not run away from people on the streets. We want to continue our life. We want to build our lives back. And that's what things are about. That's what the West is doing all this right now. We're shuffling the situation within Ukraine. And it's not about corruption. Everybody knew that this was happening. Everybody knew that this corruption, they helped this corruption. They built this corruption for them. The Vindman brothers selling weapons to Ukrainians from Poland under the guidance of officially in the documents, they're like repairing machinery for the Ukrainian army, but unofficially they're selling directly weapons and making money on this. So this everybody is involved. They knew about this, and they're getting cutbacks and kickbacks from the Kiev regime. So right now, this is just a time within this time span they need to shuffle the government, change power, change a new puppet, and then they continue. They can try to continue this war process happening in Ukraine. People are going to die. It's not Americans dying. Some Ukrainians are going to die for them. They don't care about that. They don't care about Americans. Of course, they're going to care about any Ukrainians who's going to die. There's 3.5 million men still officially in Ukraine, which they can use over the age of 25 to send to the front lines. So that's what how they're going to try to use that and continue this war for another year or two. So that's unfortunately, it's a very grim picture, but the West, if it wanted peace, it would have stopped this war because they started this war. They would have left Ukraine, alone, left an embassy there officially. That's it. Nobody, a diplomatic route is always good, but leave all the CIA agents, MI6 agents out of Ukraine, all their military personnel who are advising the Kiev regime, and get Ukraine back on board as a natural, neutral sovereign country, which is by being that Ukraine is gonna have its own security guarantees. Being neutral sovereign country, it will not have nobody will attack it because nobody will have any problems with that Ukraine. But this Ukraine under this regime, it cannot exist even under with the change of power, with Zelensky coming leaving and somebody else coming in. It cannot be this Ukraine because it's still a Nazi, anti-Russia Ukraine. It's a threat to national security issues of Russia. If something like this would have happened with Mexico or Canada, I think the United States would bombard the heck out of Mexico City or Ottawa within the next 24 hours. But Russia waited for more than 15 years begging the West not to go further. But this is what we're having today. And the West is just playing with the lives of millions of people, which they don't care about.
Yeah, it's truly tragic to watch and to watch the fact that the US will claim, well, I feel like they've even gotten past. They used to claim that they cared about the Ukrainian people. Now, exactly as you were noting there, they look at it and they go, well, it's not Americans dying. And that seems to justify everything in their mind. While at the same time, as you were also pointing out, they are making lots and lots of money off of it. And that's all they really care about at the end of the day. There's certainly a lot at stake here all around, and I really appreciate you taking the time to join me today to break down all of the latest here. Former Ukrainian diplomat and whistleblower Andrii Telizhenko, thank you so much for your time and insight.
Thank you, Rachel. God bless.
If anything in this video resonated with you, be sure to like it, share it with your friends, leave a comment. And as always, don't forget to subscribe. And if you want to keep up with all of my work, make sure that you're subscribed to my page on Substack. That's rachelblevins.substack.com. That's where you'll find ad-free videos and new weekly episodes of my exclusive series for paid subscribers called Sanctioned. You can also check out Sanctioned over on my page on Patreon. That's patreon.com/Rachel Blevins. As always, thank y'all so much for all of your support, and I'll see you next time.